The member opposite who had the temerity to talk about tax and fairness when he's a member of a party which has introduced 2 rounds of tax cuts which favoured the top end of town, the Tea Party of New Zealand. He had the temerity to also talk about opposing the inclusion of agriculture in the emissions trading scheme when agriculture makes up 48% of our emissions profile, and the equivalent of us continuing to do that is like Australia saying it won't tax the emissions that it comes from its coal industry. You've got to have fairness across the globe. And he also wanted to talk about capital gains tax, and yet we want to emulate Australia, which has had a capital gains tax for 20 years, done nothing to constrain its growth, and if we don't adopt a capital gains tax, we will be the only other Turkey of the Western world that doesn't have one other than the tax haven of Switzerland. So there's the international comparison. Here we are considering Budget 2011 estimates and the Imprest Supply No. 2 bill at a time, a very dark and worrying time, and I speak both on the international horizon and also for my city of Christchurch. We have at the moment riots going on in the cities of London and other parts of England. Why is that happening? It's happening because of inequality. We have world financial markets in turmoil and fears that we could be heading back to the dark days of 2007 and 2008. And where is the National Party, the National Government's plan to deal with these issues? Well, in the House today, Bill English was saying we need to save as a nation. The very minister who took away one of the pegs underneath the KiwiSaver scheme in 2008 so he could fund the first round of his tax cuts. Why today is he saying we need to save when 3 years ago he was cutting one of the very schemes encouraging New Zealanders to save? Where is the consistency and coherency in policy when he does things like that? He was also saying in the House today that we shouldn't be saying about the need to keep assets here away from the hands of foreigners when we are prepared to borrow from foreigners. Well, the point is this: when we keep assets in New Zealand hands, we retain an income stream and we're able to pay our debts. Once you sell them, they're gone, and there is no income stream to repay our debts. Labor has a plan around asset sales. We say keep them in New Zealand hands, don't sell them off. Labor has a plan around the capital gains tax, which everyone knows in their heart of hearts is the right policy because it's been adopted by every other nation virtually in the Western world. We have a real commitment to training and skills, not like this government, which has taken $130 million of training schemes over the last 2 years. Here's where we are as a nation at the moment. Here's where we are. We are a tiny cork on an ocean of international debt. We cannot influence international markets, but what we can do and must do is have a sound financial management policy and a plan for the future. And when those members opposite stand up and talk about financial management, they always forget how sound the economy was that they inherited. I asked the Parliamentary Library today to tell me what was the situation with Crown debt under the last Labor government. Well, here's what it was. When we came into office in 1999, from a national government, the net Crown debt was nearly $26 billion. $26 billion, equivalent to 24.4% of GDP. What was it when we went out of office? It was down to $2.6 billion, $2.6 billion, equivalent to 1.5% of GDP. That was our proud record in office. We paid down the debt. We resisted the urges of the National Party in 1999, in 2002 and 2005 to cut taxes at the time of surplus, at the time of boom, which would have been absolutely the wrong thing to do by any orthodox economic measure, absolutely the wrong thing to do. do. Instead, we paid down the debt and left this nation in a very sound state to go through the difficult times that we are going through today. And one other figure from the library today on that issue about the payment of debt, the percentage change in general government financial liabilities as a percentage of GDP between 1999 and 2008. One country did better than New Zealand. It was Norway. It had oil revenue. It paid down more than we did. But we were the second highest nation in the world to pay down debts through that period of boom. That's the financial record of the Labor government past. That's the record that you inherited. That's what's helped this country through its difficult times to date. But we still need a plan. We still need a sense of coherence and direction. And we do not get this at all from this budget. The budget, of course, includes the money for the Canterbury earthquake recovery. And I acknowledge the government has put up through the budget and indeed through this supplementary Imprest supply bill tonight, funding towards the recovery of Christchurch. We need that funding. I acknowledge the government has done the right thing in that respect, around $5.5 billion of funding provided. But let me also tell you about one of the other sources of funding that I believe is in prospect, and I'm pleased the member for Rangitata, a Canterbury MP, is here in the House tonight, and I again issue my challenge, as I do every time I speak on this issue, for a Canterbury member to stand up and take a call and tell me that I'm wrong when I say this government, if it's re-elected, is very likely, is on course to force the Christchurch City Council to sell its asset base to fund its share of recovery. It's the same philosophy as this government adopts in terms of national debt, and why would it not do it nationally, locally in Christchurch? More than that, here's the record of the Finance and Expenditure Committee estimates of vote finance 2011, and the transcript of the commentary says, as the Canterbury Earthquake Recovery Act 2011 allows the sale of Christchurch Council assets to fund the rebuilding of the city, we asked the Minister of Finance whether he would guarantee this would not happen. The Minister said this was a matter for the City Council to decide. He added that the government would discuss cost sharing with the City Council, but it was important the Council would have a stake in the process. Discussions were just beginning. They're beginning all right. They're starting to begin, and I believe firmly, and I would again invite a Canterbury member to stand up and take a call and put it as a matter of record in this House that this is not being steered by this government for delivery. After the election, the Christchurch assets, $2.2 billion, held by the Christchurch City Council through its holding companies, including the Orion Network, including the port, including the airport, including the Enable Network, including the Red Bus Company, which deliver an enormous stream of dividends to the ratepayer. In the case of Orion alone, $1 billion has been paid back. $1 billion has been paid back over the last 20 years to the ratepayers of Christchurch. $1 million a week. $1 million a week. And I again challenge members opposite, especially from Canterbury, stand up and take a call, put it on the public record. This is not going to happen under the fearful prospect of a re-elected national government, that we will see the assets of Christchurch sold down. We will see an enormous increase in the rates of Christchurch as a result, because those assets prop up our city. Those assets contribute to the repayments that we're able to make for recovery. We're prepared to pay our share, but we are not prepared to see our assets sold down the river by this government with its economic philosophy that it's all right to sell assets, that you pay down the debt and you get the dividends, you forget the dividends and you get the money in the bank as quickly as you can. You forget about tomorrow and you make the balance sheet look good today. That's the basic premise of this government, selling state assets. You will do the same, the government will do the same, I believe, if it is re-elected, and I challenge again members opposite to stand up and take a call and deny that this is not on prospect, because it's there on the record of the Finance and Expenditure Committee that actually is allowed by the Canterbury Earthquake Recovery Act. The Minister actually told the committee that is there, and I challenge again members opposite to deny that is in prospect under a re-elected national government following on from this budget appropriation 2011.
Honourable Judith Collins.
Speaker, there is one